The less you tug, the less you'll be paid. On average, see a 10% increase in pay. Strive to jump off that hamster wheel. The more likely it is, you will build your best life. When I was 22, I quit my job to start my own business, and a decade later, I run my own multi-million turnover business. We've all seen the middle class habits that, without us realising in the moment, keep us tied in the rat race of life, to go to work, earn money, to sustain a lifestyle that can't be paid for without the job. And the cycle repeating and repeating until you might be lucky to retire in your 60s. Before you know it, you look back and a decade has disappeared, and those greater life goals and ambitions have gradually disappeared into the background. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through these habits so you can focus on avoiding them. Number one, not being paid enough. Companies want to pay as little as possible, and employees want to earn as much as possible. And ultimately, what you end up getting paid lands in a tug of war in the middle. But remember, the less you tug, the less you'll be paid. In the UK and US, the average pay has increased on average about 2 to 3% a year. So if you do the same job year in, year out, on average you should be paid 2 to 3% more a year. That's an average. There'll be a lot of you out there that will perhaps not seen a pay increase at all, or maybe only sees their pay increase a little bit every 2 or 3 years. Now bear in mind, if inflation is higher than the rate your pay is increasing every year, you are essentially getting poorer over time. A classic middle class habit is to be accepting of this, to stay on this never-ending hamster wheel where you can never quite earn enough to be financially independent, but where your employer keeps paying you just enough to keep you on that hamster wheel. It may feel comfortable to stay in the same job, have the security of the same paycheck month by month, the same colleagues, the same boss, but bear in mind that those that take the leap to move jobs, to take that sidestep from one company to another, on average see a 10% increase in pay. There's no exact formula to this. Move jobs too often and that might start to look negative. But you should always keep tugging that rope to make sure you're being paid what you deserve, what you're worth. Always look to understand what you need to do in your role to earn more money, or what you need to display or achieve to be considered for that next promotion. And importantly, always check what similar roles are available and what they pay, so that you've always got good awareness to judge if you should stick to the ship you're on or jump to another one. It's obvious. We should all want to earn more, but by doing so, you should then look to invest that extra income to build wealth, to build your passive income, so that you can strive to jump off that hamster wheel. Number two, confusing what you can afford as a need. When you get your first job, or your first bonus, or start generally earning more money, there are 2 classic traps we all fall into. The first is to start spending more, so we increase our costs. The most obvious is to get a new car, but we don't just buy 100% of the car outright, we buy the car we can afford the monthly payments on. The reality is we end up buying a car we could never have afforded to buy outright using debt. Now of course lease payments are structured to make something you can't afford affordable, and is taking on this sort of debt that is the #1 wealth killer amongst the middle class today. It's not just cars, you can get loans on watches, clothes, almost anything, and it's all designed to make you spend more money than you can afford. The second trap the middle class fall into is they start to confuse what they can now afford with what they need. And these companies are very clever at making things that should be out of reach affordable. But affordable at what cost? You end up earning more, spending more, and keeping yourself on this never-ending hamster wheel. What you should be focused on is separating what you can afford with what you need. Never justify buying something because you couldn't afford it. Justify buying something because you need it. None of this is about trying to encourage you to live like a monk, but what the pandemic taught us is how easy people could go from earning a certain amount each month to earning far less or nothing. It is why it's so important to live a fulfilled lifestyle that focuses on buying things you need and truly want, with the focus on investing the rest of your income to diversify your income in the future. That way you can sooner reach that point of jumping off that hamster wheel to retire, or if that rainy day hits, you're not just relying on one income stream, but have many. There's nothing wrong with buying things using debt, but there's a big difference between good debt and bad debt. For instance, if you save some money for a deposit on an investment property, and with debt invest to buy a house you rent out, the person that pays the rent is paying the monthly debt payments. Plus, you'll be making a profit. As that property goes up in value, you're not just making money on the money you invested, but also the debt you borrowed to help buy the house. The whole time that debt has been paid for by your tenant. Debt you take out that helps you make more money is good. But if you buy a car and those monthly payments are then taking money away from your paycheck each month, and worse, the car is going down in value, that's bad debt. You really want to make sure you're diversifying your income as much as possible and only ever taking on good debt that helps you make more money. Number 3, starting to invest as young as possible. The sooner you start investing, the easier it is to make more money. Although that sounds wrong, the reality is the younger you save, the more you can benefit from the benefits of compounding. Now imagine when you were born. Your parents saved you $5 a day, and they did that for 20 years. The cost of a coffee each day. How much do you think that would become 20 years later? Well, if they put it under the mattress, it would total $36,500. But if they invested it into an index fund like the S&P 500, over the last 20 years, that has produced an average return of 7% a year. That $5 a year would in fact total just under $90,000. That's almost triple the amount than if they put that $5 a day under the mattress. Let's say you're now 40 years of age and your parents did that for you in the first 20 years of your life, and you continued it on from 20 till now. You'd have generated just under $350,000 of wealth. All of that by investing the price of a Starbucks coffee every day. It is why it's so important to start investing as early as possible and to invest as much as possible. Your future self will thank you for it because it will afford you the opportunity of choice to quit that job to do something else, or to just flat out retire and focus on the things you love. Also, if you're not sure how compounding works, spend the time to watch some YouTube channels, some videos that explain it in more detail, or comment below if you want me to make a video on it. Understanding how compounding works is super important if you plan to build any sort of wealth in your life. Albert Einstein said that the power of compounding was the 8th wonder of the world. So understanding it is a must-know knowledge. Number 4, not understanding what you're spending as much as you understand what you're earning. A classic middle-class habit keeping you in the rat race is we'll understand to the dollar exactly how much we're earning each month or each year. We will know what we're earning, where it's coming from, but we don't always have the same detailed knowledge on how much money we're spending and on what. You have to look at money as something that is entering your life and leaving your life. Money is entering your life in the form of pay or side hustle income or money from investments, and money is leaving your life in the form of all the stuff you spend to live every day. The goal is you want money to enter your life quicker than it's leaving your life. That way you're accumulating wealth, accumulating money, and you're essentially getting richer over time. Seems really obvious, however the average person in the US is in about $60,000 of debt, and in the UK the average person is in about £60,000 in debt, which totals around $80,000. So for the average person, on average there is more money flowing out of their lives than into their lives. We should be aiming to accumulate wealth, not falling into more and more debt. It's important to recognise it is not just the money that is coming into your life that is affecting your wealth, but also understanding the money that is leaving your life. The first habit I mentioned was all about making sure you're being paid what you're worth and that you're doing everything possible to get the inflow of money into your life as high as possible. As important as that is to make sure that at the same time you're trying to limit the money escaping your life so that you can save money and invest it to diversify your income in the future. The more you understand this and get into a flow investing and begin seeing more and more income build passively, the more and more you'll want to keep doing it. It can be so difficult to get started because everything in our lives is trying to extract as much money from us as possible. Every time we watch something or walk somewhere, we are exposed to hundreds, if not thousands of adverts a day trying to sell us something. All of that is designed to get us to spend more money. Remember, people trying to sell you stuff aren't trying to encourage you to save. Number 5, thinking that understanding investing is hard. Throughout our lives, a big portion of us will find mathematics hard. We'll see numbers on a page or pick up the Financial Times and not understand what is going on. But understanding what you're earning, what you're spending, how to save is really simple. We should focus on keeping things simple. You deserve to live a great life and you should aim to make sure you are being paid as much as possible for the job you're doing. You should also aim to not waste any money on buying stuff people are trying to convince you that you need, so that you can save as much money and invest in things you 100% understand. We don't need to understand everything. All we need to do is focus on building a bit of knowledge around something, and then with that knowledge, invest wisely. So if we know the stock market generates great returns, we don't have to then study each company and try and figure out what stock or share we want to buy. We can invest in an index fund like the S&P 500. That way you're not investing in a single company, you're investing in a split of 500 companies. We all know the importance of not putting your eggs in one basket, and that is exactly what an index fund does. It spreads it across 500 baskets. Or if you know the property market is a place to invest, focus on buying in an area you understand that you know people will want to rent in, an area you would like living in. Start with a small investment, get to learn and understand how things work, make mistakes, and little by little, you will build more and more knowledge to invest more wisely. Number 6, caving into the pressure. As you probably noticed by now, much of this video is about making sure we seek to understand what we're worth, in terms of what we should be paid for in our job, to understand what we're spending, what we're saving, to make sure we understand the sooner we save, the more beneficial it becomes with the power of compounding. That we keep things simple so that we don't let the fear of the complicated hide the reality of the simple. But the biggest of all middle class habits keeping people trapped on the hamster wheel is caving into peer pressure, trying to keep up with the neighbours or your Facebook and Instagram feeds. We all care about being accepted, coming across well, people liking us, but it's important that is for the right reasons. Do you want people to like you because of the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the house you live in? Or do you want people to like and even love you because of the person you are, the kindness you share, the good company you provide? All of this is easier said than done, but the more self-awareness we can develop with all these habits and the best version of you. I know it sounds corny, but it is the reality. Hopefully this video gave you some ideas or triggered some thoughts into habits that you don't want in your life. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please like it because it tells me and YouTube I'm doing a good job. And also I love replying to comments, so please write down below any questions or any other videos you'd like me to make in the future. Take care.